Hello and welcome to the waiting room. It is the Fairy Court theme day at the LCS here.
What?
Jat did not get the memo.
Jat didn't know.
What is this?
No, you knew. You're just a curmudgeon. We're going to be joined at the top of the day with two of the people who were involved in bringing the Fairy Court skin line to us, Tom and Brooke. Please introduce yourselves.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Tom Ranby. I am a lead concept artist on the skins team for League of Legends PC.
Hi, I'm Brooke Jaffe. I'm a writer on the League of Legends skins team for PC.
Okay, I think the place we have to start with is what was the inspiration and how did this all kind of come about?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thematic ideation process is really collaborative. Fairy Court actually came to us as a pitch from one of our artists. League PC has a program where literally anyone at the company can come with a really high-level thematic pitch for us to take and create a skin line out of. So one of our artists, Taylor Jansen, came with this really beautiful pitch for really regal, really lovely, graceful fairies. And he'd carved out like a bunch of different visuals for it. And we were really excited by the prospect. So from that point, you know, the process is really collaborative. A team of artists, narrative writers. We really work together to flesh out the universe behind skins. When we're thinking about skins, we're not thinking about specifically like alternate outfits. It's really about recontextualizing characters in a brand new universe. So you've got all sorts of like world building. We've designed like Fairy Court, like sofas, lampposts, like flags, weaponry, really creating full kind of world Bibles so that anybody can kind of pick them up, run with them and create a skin experience.
And also tell new stories for these characters that you wouldn't necessarily be able to with canon stuff. For someone like Karma, so I wrote Karma's VO script as well as doing the world building for Fairy Court. And it was a really great chance to explore her character and like how, you know, in a different setting, not Ionia. This is a regal, this is a royal position that's different. She's new to the job, so she interacts with things differently, interacts with people differently. And also we kind of get to see a window into her, like, maybe it's sort of emblematic of how she acted when she was just Dara and she just came into being Carmen. What's that like? So we get to play in that space a little bit more too in an alternate universe version.
All right, for both of you, what is the most esoteric thing you've designed as part of like the background story, and what is the most esoteric story detail you've designed?
Oh. I mean, for me, so the entire first script of Karma's like VO was all iambic, so all Shakespeare rhythm.
That's amazing, actually.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it didn't quite work for especially some of the shorter lines for like attacks. You don't have room for it, but I did try. So that's probably for me like the most esoteric detail.
I mean, I think the weirdest thing that I've ever put into the game is probably the Maokai ult. Like the really long, like
That's awesome. That's a good one.
Yeah, so I had like it was back when I first started, and I had a bunch of much more serious ideas, like balls of yarn, like rainbows and clouds.
So much more
and stuff.
serious. Yeah.
And literally, I woke up in a dead sweat at like 3 a.m. and I was like, long cats. And I was just like, I did like a 2-minute like doodle. I sent it into the team, and we ended up putting that into the game. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, good times.
So I was one of the few people who I think got the Fairy Court aesthetic right away.
Oh,
what?
I mean, obviously.
The only one of us, actually.
Jad is lost.
Yeah, you're really in the weeds of it, and you've gone super deep on everything. But if you had to give an explanation to someone who has no idea what Fairy Court is, could be anyone, how would you describe it?
Oh,
yeah.
I think a magical Game of Thrones with fairies.
How much was A Court of Thorns and Roses referenced in this?
So surprisingly, I've never read A Court of Thorns and Roses.
What?
I know. People have asked me this all the time, and I know because I have a lot of friends who've read it. It's like a book series.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I've actually never read it. But I sort of, it's ambiently around. I have a lot of friends who've read it, and from, you know, drawing on inspiration from, I think Fae have really come into a renaissance of people really interested in them through tabletop games, through media. And so I feel like a lot of that sort of ethos is sort of baked in as the collective conscious around fairies, and sort of what that means has changed a lot.
Yeah.
So even though I haven't read it, I do understand the reference, and that's my shame.
Well, and I think something that was really fun about building out the world of Fairy Court was the sort of seasonal approach to the different courts in Karma's, you know, holistic kingdom, right? So we've got like a ton of different visual spaces that we're able to play with, but kind of a connective tissue visually. Everything's very gossamer, very elegant. Very natural and organic in like the construction of the costuming, but even looking at like, you know, Callista versus Seraphine versus Ezreal, right? You know, the autumn fairies are very, you know, we didn't want it to feel like pure, like just dead autumn leaves, but it's very warm, very vibrant. We've got a darker take with Katarina in the Unseelie court, you know, the darker, like edgier kind of dark fae that you're rocking, you know?
Sort of more moth.
Yeah. So I think what's so cool about it is like in each of these different courts, there's a sort of unique expression that we can reimagine the characters into and really experiment with visually.
That's why I'm shocked to hear that it wasn't heavily referenced, because like my fiance has read that series. I read it with her, and it's like, you know, you have like the night court and the autumn court and all this stuff, and then like one of them looks like a straight up. I'm like, that is almost how I visualize one of the characters.
Really?
Like, oh my god, this is the same thing.
Well, like Seelie and Unseelie Fae, a lot of this is drawn from like Celtic mythology, and there's a lot of different sort of European folklores around fairies. And there's honestly a lot of global folklore around different kinds of fairies in different cultures, but we really wanted to focus on, you know, sort of the fairy queen, you know, Spencer, right? Like, I'm an English literature nerd, so of course I was like,
oh, you don't say it with the iambic.
don't call me out like this. But you know, like very Midsummer Night's Dreamy, right? And I feel like that's a cultural touch point that a lot of people are at least familiar with to a certain degree, and sort of established like, you know, competing courts and like things like that. And I think fairies are fun because of the politics, because of the drama. Like they're beautiful and they're pretty and they're cute, but also they've got teeth, you know. And I think that was sort of the fun part also about this thematic is they look so beautiful and elegant, you know. They are, but they also have a threat under them. They have power. They can make things move, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's also the power fantasy of it too.
Yeah, there's like another worldliness to it that I think, you know, it's very like recognizable, but yeah, it's not like that really like lighthearted. There's whimsy to it, but not in that like traditionally like lighthearted, whimsical, like almost cartoonish sense, right? Like there's a very mature like adult story being told, which is awesome. And I think those different aesthetics, I think it lends itself really well also to like the player experience. Like I've seen even on like social media, Twitter, things like that, players like creating like their own characters in each of the individual courts. And it's like, you see it a lot in most of our other skin lines too. You know, we've got like different factions. And again, it allows us to, you know, like incorporate different types of characters really effectively into the universe. So a character who we might feel is like a really natural fit for the spring court might not be as natural a fit for the autumn court. But we can really kind of pick and choose and decide like what execution feels best for a specific champion and players who are passionate about those champions.
Yeah. So you guys have gone into what's gone into Fairy Court and designing this specific world. I did want to ask how that is different to doing a player skin line. Like I know off camera you'd mentioned you worked on the IG skins. And I remember watching that, watching them try to explain what they wanted, and then the skins team came back to them and they were like, no, it needs to be more Dark Angel, and that's like all they could repeat. So what is that collaborative process like compared to something like Fairy Court, where it's a lot of like actual designers and artists already?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really, really fun and interesting process. And it's like, it's always really cool to get to meet with the players after the win, because there's just a really like infectious energy, and each team has such a different like sort of air to them, and like the way that they kind of demonstrate their camaraderie, and trying to like inject a little bit of that into the overall mood and tone of the skins is always really, really exciting. But it is fun. It's like, we actually get videos of them too, like acting out what they want the recall animations to be. And that's always a blast to like watch as a team and try to like pick and choose elements that we can really stylize and exaggerate. But yeah, the process is really collaborative. We're really in touch with the players, you know, with like the teams themselves. Just trying to like divine a direction that really satisfies the vision that they want, but also makes for like a really exciting and effective skin product that I think, you know, really celebrates that moment in time in like League history. You know, I think that's one of the most exciting things about the World's Winner skins, is how celebratory they feel of that specific team's like approach to winning, you know, like meeting with DRX, you know, after this past Worlds, like they were just, oh my God, so bombastic and fun and like easygoing, you know, like they really wanted to like celebrate like how much they enjoyed the challenge, and how you know, much fun they just had working together to overcome obstacles and succeed. And it's always a blast to try to incorporate that into the skins fantasy.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Before we go real quick, Brooke, you said that you had a favorite team. Who are you hoping does the best in the LCS?
I mean, I'm an EG fan, so y'all, they're close to my heart. So that's where I'm
All right, well, hopefully they do well in playoffs. Thank you so much for joining us. The Fairy Court skin line comes out next week. I believe people are able to pick up their...
I believe so.
I think it's next soon.
I'm not a numbers.
Soon. Yeah. Everyone at home can grab their favorite skin after that.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right, thank you guys. We'll fly you out of here under the standings, where we'll pull those up now as we move into the LCS folks of the show. We'll get Raz back in here, I think. So there you go. There's where the teams are right now. Cloud9 versus FlyQuest.
13-3.
Top of the table. Cloud9 grabbed it yesterday.
It's really all about this playoff race, though. 4 through 8 basically feels really up in the air. Yes, Golden Guardians or even 100 Thieves could probably move up into that 10 and 6 slot if Evil Geniuses continue to lose, but it's definitely more about making the playoffs rather than securing that top 3.
Yeah, personally looking towards TSM, Team Liquid Honda. There's some news that we'll get to at some point, but for Team Liquid, the road just seems good. And I'm on that hype train. Like, especially,
TL.
Yes, for TL specifically.
After yesterday?
You're crazy.
After you started outlining the realistic point
It's
of view.
not that crazy.
It's not a
you
crazy
just gotta
idea.
win.
Yeah.
All your games.
Yeah, and also,
And I feel, and of course, the fact that they are still within their own power, and they're looking much better. Harry specifically had an amazing Akali game just yesterday, so it's looking good.
Cool. JJ
On an
Engagers.
True.
Yeah.
That match coming
Yeah,
in
so
hot.
we are now at the point where
Oh
Golden
God, let it go.
It's
Let it
only
go.
like
24
twice of
possibilities.
me, I think. So like
Hold it
10
out.
feet tall.
That is the mythical splitual foldy
Woo!
sheet.
Yeah, with 10 games left, every game it becomes half the size.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll
That's
get,
what's
we'll-
interesting
How math
about
works.
this. Yeah. I mean, some people might not realize that.
Some people might not get it.
Yeah.
Each game of 50-50. You just 2 to the 10. So we'll go and look at people's brackets. Everyone filled out a bracket yesterday. Let's look.
Yeah, trying to predict the playoffs. Emily has C9 as the title.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how
Good
good
job with that one.
I'm feeling about the
It's all about that
TSM. I don't know how
5,
good
6,
I'm
though.
feeling about the TSM 5 pick now. I don't know
Okay,
about
so
that.
I'm with you. I thought 100 Thieves TSM would be the 2 teams in playoffs, but the fact that TSM, if people did not know, are subbing in Hauntzer for solo after that loss to 100 Thieves, making it be like a little bit more testy of how the team is doing internally potentially.
I'm not sure if we're breaking this news.
Was that
Obviously,
breaking news?
No, it was out. It was out on
Okay.
their, yeah.
All right.
About 20 minutes before the show, they brought it out.
Well,
Yeah, my
I broke
bracket, 15 and 3 C9. I went pretty deep, but I'm also wondering about that TSM and 6. But I had a TSM COD tiebreaker at 8 and 10, which is still in play, actually.
Yeah.
It's still in play.
True.
yeah, I mean, yesterday was crazy with CLG taking down Golden
I'm
Guardian.
actually feeling decent about this.
I
The
feel like I
opening
got 100
bracket.
Thieves TSM backwards and potentially even worse with. I didn't think CLG was going to be Golden Guardians, for example. And there's like this interesting tiebreaker situation with Team Liquid,
Yeah.
you know, where like
Yeah.
Team Liquid's at 0-2 versus both TSM and 100 Thieves. So I
Yeah.
thought if CLG lost to Golden Guardians and they don't force a 3-way tie, and Team Liquid
Yeah.
kind of gets screwed. So like now that that's kind of all in play again, the
Where's
bottom
Brad?
of the table is crazy.
Where's Raz's bracket?
Yeah.
Raz, where's your bracket?
Yeah,
Look, we just didn't have time.
you never submit things on time.
No,
But it wasn't us. It wasn't us.
I understand. All right, Raz took one for the team yesterday. Didn't make a bracket because we ran out of time. So
True.
today,
Because
Raz,
someone went wild on the first round.
someone wrote 15 things down.
Yeah,
and the
someone did.
score-
Real
You
bit
were
too much.
actually
Oh, yeah, could've
actively
been.
I
doing
can't
that.
fathom who would that be.
Egomaniac.
Yeah.
All right, Raz, it's your time.
All right, so I'm going to be speedrunning this a little bit, but it makes sense after looking at yesterday. Cloud9, so that's for me and Jat, Team Cloud9, taking it to the top. FlyQuest, of course, is the easiest one. Almost forgot the F part. And C9 is it's already overtaking this one, but Golden Guardians feels like the team that they're going to be playing at 4th. And I'm already just going to say, well, I'll just do this.
EG's almost got to be 3rd.
Yeah, by definition.
Yeah, of course. And I'm already just going to start by this bracket and say that C9
You do
moves
some
on.
upper bracket shenanigans?
Yeah, he's just upper bracketing the whole way.
I'm just
right.
going to do upper
All right,
bracket.
then put C9 in the finals, then
And
give
then-
him the win. Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Ooh.
so, everybody just-
This one's a tough one.
You're right.
This one's a tough one.
Fly EG.
I take EG.
Wow.
I think the team is getting it together, and also just the
Wait,
core 3
after
that they had at the
yesterday?
beginning. Yesterday, we already talked about yesterday. Okay, yesterday, A, they weren't here, so we can talk about
Yeah.
that. And B, it was a throwaway game. So I don't put too much power into that one. Playoffs is a completely different beast. And I think, of course, on that one, C9 moves on. And then we go on to the blower bracket.
Wait, C9's going to finals. You just wrote them losing.
Oh, no! This is the best tool in the game.
Oh
right now.
my God.
This is the
Oh.
best tool in the game. So C9 moves on to the finals. And then over here, so this is where my intent was yesterday. I thought TSM wasn't going to make playoffs. I can't say that anymore because we already saw the game.
Yeah, you get to cheat. You have
Yeah,
10
you have
left
extra
instead of
day. You get to
15.
look
This
smarter.
is today's bracket for you.
Whoa.
Actually-
Silk 5th,
Actually, no.
till 5th?
That's 100. I think 100 Thieves are just right now in a better position, and CLG is just dropping games they shouldn't be dropping games to. So 100 Thieves are here, CLG's here. Winner of this one's probably going to be EG. No, FlyQuest is here.
So,
yeah.
Do you think CLG will beat Team Liquid today then? Because you were just saying you have higher hopes in Team Liquid.
I have Team Liquid winning that game.
Well, that's
Spoiler
interesting.
Team Liquid
Raz
winning.
loves predicting.
Oh, no.
Oh, this is true.
Oh,
he
no.
is the ultimate flip-flopper.
He's hedging. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like a 30.
Oh, no.
He predicts TL to win so he can show his predictions if he's right.
Oh,
And
that's
if
tough.
CLG wins,
That's
Oh,
tough.
I
leave
love
it.
you. You're the
That's
best.
tough.
Oh!
That's tough.
Oh,
You just
God.
reminded me.
Oh,
You just
okay.
reminded
There we
me.
go.
You
Two
actually
We're
amended my thing.
flip-flopping live.
That's actually the flip-flop of a generation right there. But
Amazing.
sadly, FlyQuest still moves on. Sadly, this is still the
They
case.
made it and they're out.
Yeah, 100 Thieves will move on for me here.
ooh, Golden Guardian's not picking up a playoff
yeah.
win.
But then I have FlyQuest winning anyway, so it just does not matter.
I feel like anyone who thinks Cloud9 is good is just like followers of the C9 way. Sven's like, Golden Guardian's not good. So they're just like, well, I guess they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then for this one, yeah, I think.
EG wins again.
tough. This
There's
is tough.
Fly
I think
Rally
Is
for
it,
losers.
Has to win
we're
again.
all EGC9.
And then C9 wins. So literally nothing
Man.
really changed there.
Okay. Well, that's not gonna happen anymore.
We're all boring.
We've all predicted it
I
now,
predicted
except for Mark.
FlyQuest across the whole way, but people.
Oh, yeah,
What's
that's-
funny is people thought I was serious and didn't hear like because you know
The hopium
this just
reason?
gets clipped
Yeah.
and shipped on,
Yeah.
on socials, and
Yeah.
like I'm clearly saying in that part that I was just doing it because I had already predicted FlyQuest at the start of the split. Though I think C9 is clearly the hottest team in the LCS right now.
And I will say the one thing that I cheated based off yesterday's knowledge, even though I'm defending the fact that I thought TSM was not going to make it, was Team Liquid. Actually, the Team Liquid part, they just looked really good yesterday. And I just feel like looking at the path that they have to playoffs, pretty realistic.
Speaking of Team Liquid, Jat.
Yeah. So, a lot can happen for Team Liquid.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
I gotta print it out.
All right.
Let's
You gonna write it
go.
down?
Yeah,
or
I
what-
gotta thank
Again?
Z, Leo the Chosen for his foldy sheet shenanigans.
just
for
use
being able
him
to
constantly
prevent
for-
these things. Okay, so this is the 10 remaining games, and there's a lot of different scenarios for Team Liquid. So I'm gonna go over the best and the worst case. The worst
ready.
case is very simple. Okay?
Following along.
If this happens,
They're dead.
It's
it's
done.
over.
Where's
Just have
the? You
flames.
need the fire.
So it's
you need
really-
to set it on fire.
Yeah, I
We
didn't
need
have
the
enough
fire
things, but
emoji.
basically just means that nothing else matters.
The nihilist
Yeah,
game.
it's over. But they can still get fourth. Here's how. EG, got to take out 100 Thieves. You got to keep 100 Thieves.
All right, where's my
chances
gas
low.
mask?
Okay? That's pretty realistic. Now, TSM, even if they win this game, as long as they lose one of their 2 games, it's fine for TL. So this could be a dig win and then a TSM win, still the same. So I'm just going to put that as that could happen. That's the more likely
All
thing.
right, where's the shenanigan?
Right? There's not really much shenanigans. So in this case, obviously they have to win game 3. Game 4 doesn't matter. Game 5, FlyQuest wins. That's not that crazy,
That's
right?
not crazy.
Right? Match 6, C9 wins. Still pretty plausible. I mean, what do you think has to happen in this game? Team Liquid obviously has to win. Dig versus Golden Guardians doesn't matter. And then, okay, this one, a little improbable. But if
All
it
right.
happened,
Wait, Dig doesn't have to
Wait,
beat
how
Golden Guardians?
doesn't Dig have to beat Golden Guardians? I would think.
Yeah, guys, totally
Oh!
not. The 9th and 10th place
So,
teams just have to win their
listen,
final game of the split.
listen, the first 8 things aren't that crazy. And if once you do 8, anyway, this is what has to happen for them to finish 4th. It's not even just to make playoffs, it's 4th.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay. Believable until the last bit, but they don't need all that, so that makes
I mean,
sense.
circle, but I fixed it. Thanks, Mark.
I love your logic too. Like, hey guys, parlay bets are really hard for some reason. I don't know why. It can just entirely break on game 9 and 10.
Adding
Yeah,
to
no,
the
it's-
parlay. Once you hit a lot of them.
Once you hit a lot, the rest will just fall into place naturally, of course. So, all right, on to some news like we kind of hit on already a little bit. Leaky it. Hauntzer in for solo. Which is some cool news because Hauntzer and Solo have been reunited. It's been 2,153 days since they last played together in the LCS, April 23rd, 2017.
Hauntzer and Wild Turtle, of
in
course,
the
yeah.
spring finals. Yeah, what did I say?
You said solo.
Oops, I trolled. Yeah,
Hauntzer and Turtle.
Hauntzer
They
and
won.
Turtle.
Yeah.
They won that spring finals.
And then they disappeared, never to play together again until now.
Cry. Of course,
That-
MSI.
Challengers League, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously international play, but
I
in
want
LCS.
to say that was in Vancouver, but yeah, LCS Stadium.
That was
because
Vancouver. Toronto
that was
was
the Pigeon.
2016.
That was the Pigeon.
I just read prompter. Don't get mad at me.
Mark.
I'm getting pissed.
It's still amazing. That's a lot of days. When I saw these guys on TSM's Academy team at the start of the year, on their Challenger team at the start of the year, I was wondering why they did this. One might think it's like an influencer play. The second one would be, oh, actually, they just want experienced players in case they want the chance to sub them in and have them with LCS experience, and it looks like it's the latter.
And talking to you and talking to the Academy guys, watching Salt League, people have said that of everyone, like even when Wild Turtle was still back on the team, of everyone, they thought Hauntzer was the most LCS ready of the 5. So that's another interesting thing to kind of keep in mind because Turtle has slotted in and looked pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Challengers League teams in general, people will only focus on the LCS side, but there's that race to get into LCS. Like a lot of these players, their core motivation is like, yeah, I want to be playing on an LCS team, and if I feel like I'm playing good enough, if I feel like I'm performing in the Challengers League, and I think I'm better than my LCS counterpart, then I want to find that opening. And a lot of people have been singing the praises of Hauntzer within this league, and they're like, of course, that this seems to be the opening that they found. For me, I'm like, this is really late in the game.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing. But I think Hauntzer has always been like a stellar player. When he was in LCS, when he was playing Golden Guardians, I thought he was like a good top laner. So it's nice to see him back. But the timing is the only thing that could be talked about for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's some
Mid-Super Week.
The loss to 100 Thieves seems to have done something internally, I'm sure, to cause the change. Because, yeah, I love Kevin too. Hauntzer's great, but definitely something was going down there. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at the schedule to take a look at when you can see him in action. It's game 2, actually, that he's playing against Dignitas. Hopefully they can pick that win up there. For game 1, though, it's 100 Thieves versus EG, and that's what we got to focus on here.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different narratives that are possible in this game. So I just made a narrative pyramid. Tell me what you think. We can't possibly talk about 6 different things, or can we? So I think the most important narrative for this would be 100 Thieves or Bjergsen might miss playoffs, and that's because Bjergsen, in every split he's been in the LCS.
You trying to do the math?
Yeah.
I believe it's
he took a year off.
18
so
to 20. No, he didn't. He coached for that year, and he made playoffs both times.
Oh, you're counting those coach years, too. That's true.
There it is.
Would be crazy. What do you think about the rest of them? What's most interesting to you guys?
I mean, I still love the Ssumday Tenacity grudge battle just because for people that don't remember, Tenacity was the 6th man on 100 Thieves roster last year when Ssumday was on it, and then Ssumday just had this monstrous season and kind of kept him from being able to come into the LCS. And obviously, he's come into the LCS this year as part of this conglomeration of veteran players and rookie players for the new 100 Thieves lineup. So this is just a battle that I think is super interesting. I tried to sell people on it last time. They didn't care. They wanted the Doublelift FBI matchup, so.
I do care about that narrative a lot, but I have a hard time putting it over some of the other ones, like Closer versus his old teammates, FBI versus Doublelift, like even the Spring Finals rematch narrative at the bottom row there, I would almost put any of those over Ssumday versus Tenacity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to cheat in the same way and say FBI Ssumday versus old team and Closer versus own teammates feels like the same because I still, with any player going up against their former organization, they will play up. They will try their hardest. They will do more than they usually do to try and get a win. And another thing is, I will remember the time in which Ssumday got the Hall of Fame ceremony for himself on his way out of 100 Thieves because they respected all the contributions that he had over the years. Now facing 100 Thieves in this matchup, that means a lot.
Yeah, a lot of these to me are intertwined, like FBI and Ssumday versus their old team is intertwined with Closer versus old teammates, but
yeah, that's a little troll.
Old team versus teammates is kind of the same thing. I couldn't put the COVID debuff on here. That happened too late. Spring Finals 2022 rematch is interesting because there was also the 2022 Summer Finals, like right before the finals that happened as well. But then when you only have one returning member of 100 Thieves for that in Closer, the rivalry changes a little bit. Closer Vulcan will definitely be part of that rivalry because Vulcan talked trash after beating Closer in the Spring Finals, which definitely got on Closer's nerves, but a lot of interesting stuff. Emily?
I also think another interesting narrative, I think it's in a good spot though in terms of like where the pyramid is because there's not a lot of pre-existing narrative behind Doublelift versus FBI other than the fact that they're both good. But now that we're towards the end of the season, we're looking at All-Pro. A lot of people have been looking at 100 Thieves struggles and they've been like, well, even in then, Doublelift was playing really well. However, if we have Prince and Berserker as the 1-2 is kind of like commonly accepted. And then FBI is actually battling Stixay, I think, for that third spot right now over Doublelift. And that is really interesting because Doublelift could actually make an amazing case for him if he just, lights up FBI today in this match to sneak into that All-Pro vote.
So I had a tie-in for the Doublelift versus FBI. The last split that Doublelift played in the LCS was 2020 summer.
Yep.
When FBI was on Golden Guardians, went 5-3 against Doublelift, got knocked out of the playoffs because of the quirks of double elimination, then immediately went to 100 Thieves, won a title with them, now is off 100 Thieves with Doublelift flying back in. So it's really convoluted, but that's part of the Doublelift FBI rivalry to me.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to echo that sentiment and also talk about when Doublelift went past them, Golden Guardians at that playoff stage, gave respect to FBI and Hui, specifically FBI, like that new rush of 80 carries coming into the league that he said they were the better 2v2 in that playoff run. So the fact that he's going up against them in that fight for playoffs, there's a lot there.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I like it.
A lot of narratives. I'm running.
Run it, book it.
A lot of narratives. The question is, though, who's actually going to take the game? Because EG, with the COVID debuff, which you didn't put on there, they've been struggling a little bit with Jojo at home last week, and then the rest of the team joining them does make it a little difficult for them, and 100 Thieves trying to make this rally go on. Yeah,
the tricky thing for me with this one is EG, who you predict.
Wow. Yep.
Have like defending champ energy where if they don't have a big reason to get up for the game, like against Immortals, I feel like that's going to be a bigger trap game for them. And they're feeling really comfortable with their positioning in top 4, probably even their positioning in top 3. So I was really mixed on this one actually, because I think EG's going to try hard at this game.
You're basically calling it a trap game, but you just spent that whole time talking about all those important narratives for them.
It was the trap game. Today actually isn't as much. So I think it's good. I'm just saying.
But you didn't predict them to win.
You'll think
no, because look at these guys.
Look at those guys. Oh, boy.
You have to explain yourself. The fans are also alongside us, guys.
Yeah, everyone agrees 100 Thieves have been looking a lot better in recent weeks.
Except for you.
Well, I didn't say they didn't look better in recent weeks. I just think EG has been better the whole split, and I agree that there's been that COVID debuff and some trap games for them, but this seems like one that would be very important to them, actually. So, that's why I don't think that those problems about maybe lack of focus or some of these things or underestimating their opponents are going to happen here.
This also, if 100 Thieves wins, if I'm reading this correctly, it does guarantee them a tiebreaker to get into playoffs.
Yes.
So that is also super important because obviously EG is already in, but if 100 Thieves do manage to get this game, they're guaranteed at least a tiebreaker tomorrow, regardless of what happens, to make it in.
So before we go, one more person chimed in, and given that this is a Fairy Court themed day, we had to get something at least somewhat Fae involved, and we've got a special guest making a prediction.
Who's that?
It's a bunny rabbit.
A bunny?
No. How did we get a bunny in here?
They probably brought it in,
Someone brought in their pet.
They brought a carrot and they lured it. Wait, what constitutes picking
Okay, that was a quick cut.
Yes.
Yeah, whoa.
That was suspicious.
There's nothing in the cage? There's not like...
He just actually brushed his whiskers.
Yeah.
That counts?
Okay, that counts.
So they just have to touch it.
That counts.
I didn't know if it was like there was something that they had to eat in the bowl.
So I saw this because I was doing a pre-tape during when they were filming it.
That was not live?
There is food in the bowl.
Yes, but wasn't interested in the bowl.
The bunny seems to not have a great attention span.
No.
Hopefully.
It was not interested in the food.
What the... Oh, I thought that was actual JoJo Twitter for a second. I just saw it at the top. All right, there we go.
Fairy Court LCS, all dapper.
Yeah, you won, JoJo's coming in hot.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us in the Fairy Court waiting room. Let's head it over to the casters for game 1.
Welcome back to the LCS. Why are we opening on that shot?
It's beautiful. Look at how he planned out his outfit today. If you notice, the wings match perfectly with the shirt.
Yeah, I'm the king of
Flowers has been looking forward to this for months.
It's Fairy Court Day here at the LCS, and Isaac and I are dressed to impress. But
You want to flap him for me?
I don't think that there's.
Maybe just like, a little.
Okay, well, now that that's taken
I
care
hope
of.
everyone's enjoying this.
Hey,
as much as I am.
you're getting way too much of a kick out of this. Anyway, we've got a game to play. We got 100 Thieves going up against Evil Geniuses. EG not having the greatest outcome in their game yesterday, losing to the already eliminated Immortals, getting upset by that. 100 Thieves, however, coming out on top of TSM, who they were tied with in the standings, feeling better about their position moving forward, looking to lock that playoff spot.
Dear Jojo, don't throw the game because you're bored. I think a lot of people probably EG fans saying that.
Everyone in the EG fan base.
That's the EG pregame speech, actually, every day. Please, Jojo.
The holy prayer of our Jojo, who aren't in mid, please do not in.
Yeah.
Now, let's see how this one actually shakes out here as we're getting into the draft. It is the Elise and Aphelios banned out by 100 Thieves, with Annie taken off the table by EG. A lot of the times we've seen when Annie makes it past the first 6 bans, she's a very fast pickup on the blue side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is going to be an incredibly important game, actually, for both these teams. EG, with their loss yesterday, is kind of at risk, to be honest, of losing their top 4 spot, right? You want to be starting in the upper bracket. You want to guarantee. So there is possibilities that if they lose out this weekend, they actually lose that top 4 seed, and they could start lower bracket, which would be devastating based on how well they have been doing throughout most of the split. 100 Thieves also, if they get a win here today, chances are very high that they're going to playoffs. That will put them at 9. That will put them a step ahead of most of the competition here. With their win yesterday, which was so important over TSM.
Oh, yeah.
That was, one of the biggest playoff implications games that we're actually going to have this whole Super Week. So already off to a pretty good start.
Well, we've got Varus, Zeri, and Vi rounding out the second half of the first phase of bans. Before we go any further, Isaac, this is not our normal champion select music, is it?
You're giving me the most, is it just me?
Something is amiss here.
Something isn't right here.
Yeah, something's a little strange, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dig this. It's pretty catchy.
Does he do a little jig to it,
It's in music in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, I like it.
It is true.
Yeah.
I can see, having a beer by the fire to this.
Yeah, big old mug
telling some tales.
Yeah. Well, we've got the Gragas locked in. We're talking about a mug full of mead. How about a barrel? They're going to pick that first on the side of 100 Thieves. Over for Evil Geniuses, they'll lock in the Caitlyn for FBI.
Caitlyn getting locked in. Going to be interested to see if they want to go Caitlyn Lux, fully commit to that, try to go for the pushing lanes here. Look to see if they can actually punish Doublelift and Busio over on that side. But it will be Sejuani as the answer for Inspired first off. Of course, you don't have to lock your full bot lane immediately. But going to be interested to see where Doublelift actually goes. Had a really strong Jinx game yesterday. 100 Thieves were actually in a pretty rough spot for a while.
Yeah.
But we're able to actually turn it around through some really good team fighting. And Doublelift looked really good throughout those team fights. Was actually having a pretty good performance. And when you think back to the earlier weeks, 100 Thieves, I think, was at their best. It was largely based around team fighting and largely based around Doublelift Zeri. So if they can actually get him to comfort, get him to those 5v5s where he can really excel, I think things could be looking good. It's going to be the Xayah Rakan, and he did have a really good Xayah game last week as well.
Yeah, Doublelift had an awesome performance once they were able to get him rolling. Closer, I think, was also a standout in their ability to come back against TSM. His Wukong play, knowing when to go in, when to pop clone, when he needed to exit and how, was really on point. Set up a lot of that success that Doublelift was able to find. But we do have Xayah Rakan locked in for Doublelift and Busio. That's going to give Doublelift plenty of ability to avoid whatever dive might be coming after him from Evil Geniuses. Inspired with that Sejuani pick second, like you already pointed out, and it will be the Caitlyn Lux duo, that lane power pressure duo down there for Evil Geniuses.
And that already is going to draw a lot of attention down towards bottom lane, because generally speaking, when you're going with this lane, you want to have the hard push, be punishing your enemy bot lane under tower, taking plates, poking them out, harassing the Xayah as she's trying to pick up all that farm. And that is going to mean both that the enemy jungler is going to be looking to gank you and that your jungler needs to protect you on the push. Needs to keep you safe to do that. Because you are going to really struggle if you just sit back and you allow the Xayah Rakan to be pushing in. They're going to have more ability to get on the map. The Rakan, if he's allowed to roam, is going to be more effective than the Lux. So I definitely want to keep them locked under that tower under pressure.
Well, Evil Genius's comp seems pretty set in where the champions are going to go. Gragas, however, is a pretty effective flex pick. Why are you still grinning at the wings? I can...
They're just peeking out. They're staring at me.
Yeah. I was... All right. All right. Anyway, the flex power of the Gragas. Evil Geniuses are not convinced it's going into the jungle. They believe that it's a solo lane pick, and so they're going to ban out 2 junglers here in the second phase, Lee Sin and Wukong. Very closer-style champions, right? You see this guy, you think Lee Sin, Wukong, Viego, these fighter type of junglers, not the traditional, like, Sejuani type of I'm just a meatball type of player. Over on the other side, it's a mid-focus from 100 Thieves. Akali and Sylas both banned out. I like this because even though Jojo has had a couple of pretty egregious mistakes throughout Spring Split here, I think in the game yesterday, Bjergsen was definitely a liability for 100 Thieves up against TSM. He got caught multiple times. He wasn't putting on a particularly impressive individual performance, so making it so he's a bit more comfortable in this game against EG, I like it.
And it's also really strong melee pairings for the Sejuani, right? So that's kind of what they're focusing here. You know, Jojo, largely when people are banning mid laners against him, EG is often receiving, you know, LeBlanc bans and things like that Jojo is really known for his mid lane dominance. So we'll see where they want to go. It is going to be 5th pick for Jojo, so we'll find out what sort of a matchup he's going to be looking for. Ahri would be interesting. Much more kind of like mid-gamey, more aggressive when you're looking towards the composition that they are building. A lot of ability to actually get proactive here with the Rakan engages, the Gragas engages. Skirmishes can be really powerful here early on with that Viego. Utilize this Ahri, try to get that first kill, burst someone down with the charm, get that first reset for Viego, which we know is all important in those team fights.
Yeah, and I said, hey, you think of 3 champions when you're thinking a closer, and 2 of them got banned out. He picks the 3rd one, that Viego. It's so much comfort for him. We've seen so many highlight reel plays out of this guy on this champion in the past. But now Evil Geniuses, what is the pick here? I like this. Veigar locked in for Jojo in mid lane up against the Ahri.
Okay, so Veigar coming through here. It's going to be really interesting to see how he's actually able to perform. It doesn't feel like the easiest Veigar game. Like, there is a lot of hard engage, but if they're not able to get onto him immediately, he is going to be able to create a lot of space for FBI with that cage. You know, utilize the cage in the midst of the team fights to peel for the Caitlyn, to create that zone of control where Viego and Gragas and Rakan are really going to struggle to actually close that gap to this big carry. And the scaling is incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Yeah, Event Horizon, I believe, is one of the strongest, if not the strongest non-ultimate ability in League of Legends, especially once he gets the stacks, lower the cooldown on that thing. It's absolutely incredible as a zone control tool, and considering when you look at this enemy team, unless Tenacity wants to go full tank Gragas, there's not somebody who can just eat a 1000 AP Veigar QWR combo and live through it. This guy is going to be an absolute missile later on in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And ever since 13.4, where they actually did increase the range on both the Baleful Strike and the Dark Matter, the Q and the W, we've been seeing a lot more Veigar. It makes it easier to actually, you know, have those max range cages where you can still follow up pretty quickly before it actually does expire on the stun. It's easier to farm up and stack that AP. I have been mostly seeing Roa Seraphs on the Veigar, people just going for these kind of more defensive style builds. I know a lot of Veigar players do, though, still prefer to just go Roa straight into a death cap and just amp the stacks that you're actually getting from your passive, which can be really, really powerful itself. So we'll see what sort of a build Jojo does want to go for. He is going to be playing Spellbook, so going to have a little bit more utility there. Bjergsen on the other side also playing Spellbook, so not electing to go Ignite, not electing to have the more aggressive setup to try to punish this Veigar. It's double TP in the mid lane, both playing Spellbook, and double cleanse down in bot lane.
I really, really like the tankier Veigar builds, like with the Rod of Ages, with the Seraphs, like you're talking about, just because of the fact that your damage scales so much just based off of being able to farm correctly with stacking up the Primordial Essence from last hitting with the Q. So I think that being able to survive, just don't get 100 to 0, don't become the Viego possession target there at the start, and you'll be in a pretty good spot. Did accidentally misspeak earlier talking about the reduced cooldown on the E as he stacks up. That is the W, not the E. Had those flip-flop there. It's been a while since I've seen Veigar in pro play, so had to catch back up on the details there. But Bjergsen hitting 600 career LCS games.
This is crazy.
He is #1 all time as of now.
Yep. Has had an incredible career and trying to make sure that he doesn't miss playoffs for the first time ever. He's never missed playoffs as a player, has never missed playoffs as a coach, and is in danger of missing playoffs here with 100 Thieves for the first time ever if they do take a couple losses. Some nice early poke, though. Bad start to the lane for Doublelift already.
Yeah, not fantastic.
Even pre-minions, he had already gotten poked out a little bit, so it's going to be first potion basically down on that first wave immediately, so we'll see how well they're going to be able to play this. But Closer already down towards bot side, looking for a cheesy level 2 gank. They're going to go in.
They forced the flash out of FBI.
This is a kill, 100%.
Yeah, he's absolutely done. There's no way you get out of that one, is there? They block the stun. FBI still trying to walk away from it. A little bit more damage still needed. There it is. It's first blood back over to Doublelift. He might have got off to an initial bad start, but they immediately remedy that here in bottom lane. Closer's on the board, and Doublelift's the one getting the money.
Yeah, and even with the block on the W there, I was thinking it was going to be potentially that W stun coming through from Closer, but it was blocked out by Vulcan. It just didn't matter. They're able to just all flash in, chase him down. Oh, it didn't actually quite get them.
Oh,
That
I think
sucks.
I think it hit them maybe during the last 0.25 seconds when the recall actually completes.
Yeah, exactly. You won't actually be interrupted during those final moments of the recall, even if you do get hit.
Yeah.
But that is brutal because, Doublelift. Tenacity, all chats. GG or a remake? It's like the scrim meta gets the level 1 first blood.
Good old Doublelift.
They're calling ready, though, so I think we should be right back into it. Not exactly sure what the issue was. Either way, just a massive start now from 100 Thieves. It was looking already rough in those early trades for the 100 Thieves bot lane, but Closer just goes red buff straight towards bot. They force out that flash immediately from Busio, and then everyone just piles in. They get the first blood, plus getting the first blood on Doublelift is huge.
And I'm really liking how much deviation we're getting from standard expected play in the first couple of levels yesterday and now today too. Yeah, this one wasn't a crazy like Scion lane swap or full like 3-man invade towards the enemy jungle for his second buff, but just having that bit of a curveball, just having Viego one camp and then bot, catching the enemy team by surprise in Super Week like this when everything's on the line, that's the best time to pull out these kinds of traps.
Yep, here it is one more time. So they forced out the flash immediately and then just going aggressive. The Ignites dropped early. Doublelift was getting pushed back, so you could see in the 2v2 they were in a great spot and just not expecting it, but everyone piles in that final Q, and then Doublelift flashes forward for a Q of his own after Closers had landed, is able to finish him off for that first blood and barely survive. And then we can see this final recall here. Yeah, probably just, exactly. It's, didn't even
hit them. Nice.
So very, very close. That would have actually been big if they could have stopped that. But Closer's back here again, and FBI, you're done.
You know what's going to be even more huge is another kill coming in for 100 Thieves as FBI lives longer than you would have expected, but not long enough. Closer and Busio want to take out Vulcan next, but they got to be careful because Closer's low. He jumps back to possess the body. He gets FBI and gets the 90 caliber net to jump back.
Yeah, that was really nicely done and gave him that frame of immunity where Inspired couldn't actually activate his E because he had the passive stacks actually fully stacked up there. Could have potentially killed him off, but not able to do it. Now going to be able to delay the base.
There it is.
It's nice, but this one matters a lot less than the first one would have because it was a lot later of a recall and FBI would have been back sooner, but Ssumday, you might be dead, friend.
Ssumday and Tenacity, the 1v1. Tenacity nearly wins it. Needs another body slam, belly flop, whatever you want to call it. He can't quite get there, and Ssumday escapes. Actually, Ssumday's better off in this because they're both going to have to go back, and Tenacity used flash.
Yeah, exactly. And the wave is actually really good for Ssumday. So Ssumday doesn't even have to TP if he doesn't want to. He is going to elect to TP. I'm never a fan of these TPs, to be honest. You miss like 1 or 2 minions, but he wouldn't have been able to fully crash the wave anyway. And so I do prefer when people actually just hold on to it. There's the event horizon coming down. Bjergsen dodges out on the W, but does take the Q. So Jojo just going to be stacking this up. And Rakan looking for a roam here. He could. Oh!
Jojo forced to flash away from that one. But yeah, I like you're making them take the lesser of two evils. If you get them trapped in the cage, place the dark matter where they have to step out of it, and then put the Q right where they have to move. Damage guaranteed. Yeah, you're not getting the entire combo, but you're getting enough to continue chipping away at that health bar and just trying to continue building that lead in terms of the resources you have to work with. Now, bottom side, it's a massive wave about to crash into the turret of Doublelift and Busio. Busio jumps after Vulcan. That was way, way, way too aggressive there. Ends up eating a lot of damage.
Yeah, it does take a lot of damage there. We'll see if this Caitlyn Lux can still maintain the push. And honestly, if they can continue winning 2v2 despite all the pressure they've had, that would be huge. Jojo is down here. Doublelift getting really low.
There's no flash on Doublelift, and they take him down. Jojo making the rotation, and now he hits level 6 as well. All they have to do is blow him up, and there it is, Primordial Burst. Jojo comes down and saves the day for the EG bot lane that was getting pressured up until this point.
Yeah, that is huge. They are going to spot Bjergsen coming down here as well. You know, you talked earlier about those unexpected plays, and sometimes the unexpected plays are the deadliest, whether it is a level 2 gank here coming out from the Viego, or a roam from a flashless level 5 Veigar coming down was not expected at all. And Jojo's able to put them back into a position where they're competitive again. Yes, it is going to be FBI still down on gold, but not nearly so much because they denied all of that CS from Doublelift. They kill him off. None of the kills went to FBI, unfortunately, but this does catapult Jojo further, and they're going to be feeling really good about their position now, you know, having a much better spot in this game.
Evil Geniuses trying to bounce back after yesterday's upset loss against Immortals. I don't think anybody was really predicting that one. It was pretty rough to end up being in a spot like this. And what you're talking about, they know that the pressure does still exist. It is very real because starting off in that bottom bracket where you only get the 1 life instead of 2, that's a big disadvantage.
It is a massive disadvantage, especially when you've been one of the strongest teams throughout most of the split, right? They are still looked at by a lot of people in the power rankings as potentially the second best team, because FlyQuest has been kind of falling off. A lot of people still believe that EG could be one of those very top teams, but they've got to be able to showcase consistency, and that's something that they've struggled with really throughout the entire split. You know, even in their wins, they've struggled to be consistent in how they are actually closing out games. Sometimes it gets a little sloppy, they're getting picked off. Sometimes they're relying on opponents' mistakes as well. So we'll see if EG can have a little bit of a cleaner game here today, but in a decent position so far. I wouldn't say that they're in any sort of a commanding advantage by any means. I mean, it's dead even and they have a dragon. And even considering the comps, it's like, I don't see any massive advantages on either side. Obviously, Veigar is going to scale really well. There's more of a front line on the EG team. But Xayah, Rakan, as well as Gragas, you know, offers you a lot of explosive engage, a lot of power in these 5v5s as well.
Ooh, inspired over the wall with the gank. The Sejuani is level 6. Bjergsen flashes over the event horizon. Remember that if he would have used his ultimate, he would have got stopped because it's a dash. The flash had to be committed there. Closer now level 6. He only acquired that from his most recently farmed camp. He was level 5. Inspired had a bit of a lead there in terms of EXP. But now Bjergsen's got to go all the way back home. He knows Jojo's got that ulti ready to go again. The execution power of that thing is nasty. You hit 1Q or 1W on Bjergsen at this HP, follow it up with an ult, he's gone.
Yeah, or at the very least, really, really low. Oh! Now another dive.
Nice shot there onto Doublelift. Inspired forces out the cleanse from the 100 Thieves AD carry. Remember, he's still only level 5 as well, so that means no Xayah ulti available for safety. If they can do this again, they should be able to get an easy kill.
They're threatening it, and Jojo's actually coming down. You can see him roaming down on the map, but Closer is here to intercept, and they could actually potentially turn this around on him.
Oh, they find Spectral Maw there from Closer. Jojo drops the event horizon at his own feet. Closer still looking to chase here, gets hit with the ace in the hole from FBI to dissuade that from going any further. Binding over the wall, the attempt from Vulcan there, seeing if he might just be able to get a lucky one on Doublelift. Find them a free kill with some of the attention. Maybe his monitor's looking up at the fight in the jungle or something, but unfortunately, not the way it works out.
Yeah, but still, even just that delayed base, you look at mid lane, you look at this wave, that's actually going to be the denial of at least a couple minions there from Jojo. So always nice, just delay the tempo there to slow things down. This buys Bjergsen time as well to go over to Rift Herald, as Inspired is just relentless in this pressure on bot side. The early minutes was all about Closer getting down here multiple times. You know, that level 2 gank, getting the kill on FBI, then re-ganks, kills FBI again. But the roam from Jojo, the pressure from Inspired, has gotten their bot lane back into a winning position where they're actually almost killing this tower off 10 minutes in, which is a great pace to do it at, you know, even if this was an uninterrupted 2v2. So things looking really good for EG all of a sudden, and a lot of credit deserved by Inspired and Jojo for getting this 2v2 back to parity and now back to an advantage.
Two-man Wrecking Crew takes first turret at 9 minutes and 58 seconds into the game. That's exactly what you draft Caitlyn Lux to be able to do. Man, I'm loving it. That's exactly what EG needed here. They're going to now be able to rotate those two around the map, continue trying to take more turrets. Back up here on the top side, it's pretty standard farm fest between these two. You can see a bit of a farm lead for Ssumday. The Catalyst of Aeons in Tenacity's inventory tells us it's not going to be a full tank Gragas. You're going to at least have that Rod of Ages there for the start. I like that. Want to have some sort of a threat on this guy when he goes in, because there's a lot of squishy targets on the enemy side.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are just liking Roa Seraph's builds. I'm going to be interested to see where he goes, because he doesn't actually have an early tier. which is pretty common these days. Tier just helps you so much with your sustain on Gragas, because if you're not out of mana, you always can just be healing back up with that passive. Makes it very difficult to actually push you out of lane. And gives you a relatively high amount of tankiness, and you still have pretty good burst between Roa and Seraph. So I'll see if he still wants to go for a late tier and move towards that, but there are possibilities for more kind of pure tanky style builds, or even just going Roa Zhonya's, which gives you more kind of playmaking abilities. You can throw yourself more haphazardly into that backline. You'll have that Zhonya's for safety.
Well, Evil Geniuses is going to start up the second Drake of the game. They currently have a 1,500 gold lead, as well as that first Drake in their possession. They want to continue building towards Soul, make that one of those early win cons. Tenacity has come down. 100 Thieves are ready to contest this. Remember, Ssumday is able to TP, but it is not unleashed. He would have to teleport to one of the turrets and then try to make a move from there. Tenacity just gets caught.
Yeah, Tenacity comes down, and then he goes down. Ends up just getting caught in transition. He even used his TP to mid lane, so there's no one actually to answer the top lane right now. Bjergsen is spellbooked over to a different summoner and now gets caged in. Getting a little bit awkward because they just need to buy time.
Ooh, Vulcan forced to flash away there, but Busio's ready to chase him down, and Closer wants to kill. A Lux with no summoner spells. It's a hard task to get away, and it won't happen. The shutdown comes out, and FBI almost gets caught by the charm there. If Bjergsen hits that one, he might have been in danger of death too.
Yeah, and that fight actually does force somebody to TP towards mid, but somebody took 2 plates top first, so that is 1 kill. The additional kill on Tenacity, is equalized somewhat by that kill over on the Vulcan, but still, EG coming out way ahead in this exchange, and they're first to be starting up this Dragon. Jojo in that area to try to zone. Looks like it's going to be a bit of a freebie here from Inspired, unless Closer heads over there immediately.
And as Tenacity got caught, blown up, sent back to the base, he did purchase his Roa, so he's already stacking on that one. Bought the tier next, so it seems like he wanted to forego the early stacking on that, just guarantee the Roa got online ASAP. So I do expect to see Roa Seraphs like you were talking.
It's interesting, because you can do this approach, and sometimes when people go for the late tier, what they'll do is they'll go Roa, and then they'll go for a second item while the tier stacks, and then go back for the Seraph's third. So you have that option as well. Generally, if you want to rush towards Seraph second, you want it to be stacked as you're completing that purchase, which requires you to buy it early on. So we will see if he's going to just delay the Seraphs, just sit on that tier for now for a little bit of help with that mana. But K'Sante, going straight towards the Jack Show, so looking for that pure tank as that frontliner here. And yeah, going to be interested to see if they can slow down this acceleration of this Caitlyn, who has been just eating good, taking so many plates despite 2 deaths in the first 4 or 5 minutes for FBI.
Yeah.
He has not really been slowed down very much at all, and is 400 gold out ahead of Doublelift right now.
And talking about Caitlyn and the Gragas itemization before that, very important to mention, Stopwatch, Zhonya's, these kind of stasis tools are very bad against Caitlyn, Lux, and Veigar.
Yep.
Because if they can place down a trap or an event horizon as you're coming out of the stasis, the follow-up of the Lux binding, and then whichever one of the other 2 wasn't already used, you're CC'd for 5 seconds straight.
Yep, it's pretty well guaranteed. It becomes incredibly difficult to actually deal with there. Doublelift's about to cash out the call, which he did get from the first blood, so that's something working well for him. To check in on Jojo's stacks, he's got 138 stacks right now. 10 per minute seems to be generally considered quite good.
Okay.
So that is around the pace that he is at so far. Sometimes can ramp up if you can get a lot of early CD components and you have an easy lane to trade in non-stop, because then you're not just getting them from last hits, of course, with the Q, but every time you're hitting an opponent, you're also getting those stacks up. So we'll see if he can continue to ramp that up, as now the Roa is complete, and he's going to be working towards Seraph's next, it looks like.
Right, he's 330 out of 360 on the charges. Veigar's spammy Q really helps you charge that thing up faster than most other champions are going to be able to match. So that should be online very, very quickly as soon as he's got the money here for the second completed item. 3 minutes until our next Drake spawns. Remember, both of those belong to EG so far. You can see we've got the minute or less warning there on the timer for Rift Herald as well. That first one was claimed by 100 Thieves. It was used in bottom lane during the Dragon standoff to help Doublelift get a little bit of extra plate money, but they have not taken a turret with it. Still, the only turret taken this game, the tier 1 in the bottom lane, thanks to the Lux and Caitlyn combo.
Yep, going to be able to grab that up. Also interesting to see, it's not Everfrost Ahri, which is what I've mostly seen these days, but it is a pretty tanky frontline, and maybe feeling like he has to do more of the heavy lifting for some of that frontline damage. So it is going to be Leandry's. It's going to give him a little bit more just straight up damage, less control. So he's going to be less about the utility. because we've been mostly seeing just like Everfrost Zhonya's as kind of those more common builds. So you can just go for the higher DPS versions of it, and we'll see how effective Bjergsen is going to be able to be in these 5v5s.
Everfrost just feels so good on a champion like Ahri that has that line skill shot hard CC, because Everfrost almost guarantees you hit it, right? So that's kind of what you're giving up, saying, all right, I'm trusting myself to hit the charm without Everfrost, and if you do, the damage will be impressive. But we're gonna have to see if Bjergsen can execute on that one. As a TP comes in from Jojo, it's 100 Thieves starting up the Herald, but it's Evil Geniuses ready to contest.
And they just forced Vulcan's flash there on the side, so he's gonna have to be a little bit more careful. But EG, as you say, are in the area, clearly want to fight this. Busio looking for a potential flank angle here, though. If EG overcommits too far into the river, he's gonna be scouted out, though.
Okay, Evil Geniuses looking to poke these guys off. Jojo just wanting to go fishing with the Event Horizons, see if they can catch anybody out. Inspired's going to continue zoning away 100 Thieves. The Herald's down to 2,000 HP. Busio has to disengage back over the wall. Event Horizon to zone him away from the Herald. It's picked up. Ssumday grabs the eye. Vulcan fires out a laser for covering fire. Ssumday looks for an engage, but now he's going to be knocked back into the team. It doesn't matter. Busio's about to die first. Ssumday right back in with the rest of his squad, chasing after Busio, and he finds the first kill. Bjergsen stuck in the stasis, and now he's picked up next. 100 Thieves. Oh, Doublelift! But Doublelift wants to turn it around. Doublelift gets Vulcan, but what next? Tenacity picks up one as well, and it'll be 3 traded for 2, as 100 Thieves will not go quietly.
Massive turnaround there from Doublelift. Very nearly took down all of the EG members as they're funneling into the feathers there. Found a moment to really go aggressive. Inspired stopping him from being able to follow up and actually finish off his carries, from avoiding getting those bounties. But at the very least, they do get that kill onto Inspired. When we watch this one more time, the zone control is just so massive from that Event Horizon. It comes down and kind of funnels them both into that W. And then Ssumday is getting separated out from the team, but he's kind of winning on that side. And Tenacity is incredibly low on the other side. Busio has to actually go into the stasis, but it's very easy to follow up and look for that kill as Ssumday flashing in the all-out, finding that initial kill. It's looking disastrous here for 100 Thieves, but look at all these feathers that are getting stacked up. Doublelift repositions, finds the angle there to get the first kill here onto Vulcan. Very nearly took down FBI, and Ssumday was pretty low as well and had a bounty on him, so that could have been massive. He had a little bit more AD behind it. Not able to, unfortunately, get it done, but still got a lot of damage out.
Doublelift doing more damage than the second and third highest contributors of his team put together. 4,400 in that one, but you can see that it was Jojo leading the way at 3,600 for EG. The Veigar continues scaling. You can see EG claiming the third Drake, putting themselves at soul point, setting themselves up for a potential 23-minute soul, while also slamming the Herald into the mid lane. They take out a tier 3 turret with no Baron.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually 100 Thieves that grabbed the Dragon, though. They're committing to that. Herald gets dropped mid, so 100 Thieves was giving up a lot for that. They wanted to stop the soul stock that you were talking about, but it meant that EG got both mid lane towers, actually all 3 mid lane towers there. I didn't know that the third one even got finished off. So 3 towers just to delay the soul is a pretty rough trade there for 100 Thieves, and EG really capitalizes on it after winning that Herald fight. Able to get a massive reward. That's got to be one of the highest value Shellys I think I've seen this whole year.
Yeah, I'll take that trade any day if I'm Evil Geniuses. I mean, if 2 Drakes bought you the ability to break the tier 3 turret 18.5 minutes into the game, you've now opened up this massive opportunity. If you even build the lead slightly further, you can take inhib. You can get so much map control that normally is almost locked behind needing Baron to break through that. And Vulcan gets jumped on. Bjergsen misses the charm, but it won't matter. Doublelift picks up the kill anyway. Closer looking for a disengage here with a Heartbreaker, but he may just be caught. Now he can finally finish getting out, as Busio wants to run here too. Evil Genius is looking for a chance to strike back, but they can't quite close the gap.
Nicely done, 100 Thieves. They do find a pick. Then they get out, and double TP actually spent. So yeah, they use the flash from Bjergsen, they use the TP from Tenacity. But when you're down 3K, you can get a kill, force both the TPs from the soul laners, and get out with your lives. You're going to be feeling pretty darn happy about it. And Doublelift now up to 3 kills there on the Xayah, closing in on that second item. He's going to be their big hope here in these team fights. Is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting on the Xayah against this really beefy front line of the K'Sante, who's going full tank and Inspired as well. Is going to become a brick wall here once he completes his mythic. Rushing straight for the Warmogs this game is a bit of an interesting choice. I will say I'm somewhat surprised. I am a big fan of Warmogs early on in the junglers, but there's not a lot of poke on this team, so that's what surprises me a little bit more about it. Maybe it just feels like he's going to have to be face-checking brushes and going to get chunked, and then he can kind of like back up and heal it back up that way. But we'll see how useful it is this game, because generally it's like if there's Jace, if there's Ezreal, if there's this sort of stuff, then it's guaranteed value. But so far, a lot of the fights have been more of those kind of like 100-0 engagements in this one.
Right, I mean, you might be able to tank a Gragas barrel or a couple of feathers from Doublelift, but there's no shock blast, right? There's not one of those things that is an absolute priority. But Evil Geniuses still have over 2,500 gold up on their opponents. They're doing really well here in the mid-game so far. 21 minutes into the game, 2.5 minutes till the next Drake spawns, as 100 Thieves is looking for a chance to get some of that money back, maybe take down the tier 1 turret here in the top lane. Jojo's gonna be showing up to try to defend it. Throws out a couple of spells, does not want to overcommit to this defense. Tier 1 turrets are not worth defending to that degree at this point in the game. So Jojo's going to let that one fall as Doublelift picks up the solo gold on the turret. 100 Thieves knows they've got to get this Xayah fed.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the map as well. There's no one up there by him, right? They're pushing bot. They were pushing out mid as well. He didn't even have a jungler with him. And you have a bounty. And you have to play smart. When you are actually sitting on these bounties, it's kind of your duty to protect it, to not give it over, especially not to the strongest member on the other team. You know, if you give up that bounty kill to Doublelift on a dive and you lose your sums, all of a sudden it can get really bad. And we've seen a lot of games this year where people get a little bit sloppy when they're out ahead. If you die over in that Baron area post 20 minutes, teams are willing to start it and force a fight. And that can become very, very difficult because Jojo also doesn't have TP. So definitely playing it smart, playing it safe in that situation. And we'll see where EG's next move is going to be. I'm expecting them to just move down towards Dragon here. You know, 1 minute till that spawns. They already have some decent vision on that bot side river, those 2 pink wards, that little line of vision here that they're going to want to maintain. Just try to set themselves up and move to Soul Point.
Do you think 100 Thieves even fights for this? I mean, they're down 2,000 gold now. That top turret at least making up for a little bit of the disadvantage.
I think so, actually. When I'm looking at the item completions, right, when you're looking at the major carries, 2 items, 2 items, 2 items, 2 items, right? Like, okay. 2 items, 2 items. So it's like, sure, there is an advantage in gold on the other side, but it's not actually showcasing itself in any item completion. So I think this is about as good as it's going to get. Jojo, though, looking like he is very caught out.
This could be the catch that 100 Thieves need. They get it. Nicely done. Well read from 100 Thieves. Jojo's still trying to escape, but the Heartbreaker shuts him down. Closer's got it, and now EG are on the run. Ssumday and Inspired separated a bit from the rest of the squad as Bjergsen's the target of Ssumday now. He and Closer backing away to the rest of the team. It's a 5v4 for the next 30 seconds, and the guy they took out is a critical piece for EG.
Man, that has been the Achilles heel of Jojo this split, is just getting caught in side lanes. You know, he's very far out there on the Veigar, doesn't have his team with him, doesn't have that coverage, and you do not have a lot of safety on this champion, so EG are going to try to threaten, at least pretend to threaten that they can maybe go over to the Baron. Of course, they're really just going to get some vision, try to push out mid, but they have to give up this Dragon now, so it's tied 2-2. EG's advantages are really just slipping away.
I mean, this Baron take, it feels a little bit cursed to me.
There's no shot.
I don't think you have anywhere near the... Maybe if you had Aurelion Sol, maybe if you had like Cassiopeia or something, but it doesn't seem like very rushable at all.
They're going to turn. They just want to try to force a fight, I think. They're trying to make 100 Thieves fight.
Look at that! Tenacity says take a drink! And it's Jojo dead again! Vulcan's the next target, and 100 Thieves are not done. Evil Geniuses trying to get themselves away. Closer dives in pursuit of the back line, but he's gonna take a couple with them. FBI trying to kite it out. Couple of more headshots, put some damage into 100 Thieves and stop the chase. Inspired lives with 10 health, and things are getting bloody on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, and if Inspired dies there, that's probably a Baron start. 400 Thieves. They did lose Closer, so it would have been somewhat risky, but still may have wanted to actually look for it. FBI did a good job kiting back here, but it's the engage. You called it out from Tenacity. Jojo, again, a little bit too far forward, wants to get the follow-up, just barely able to tag him back into the team. The charm actually misses there, but they have the follow-up from the rest of the squad. Doublelift piling in, does get that kill. Another one going his way. He's now up to 5 kills here on the game. The cleanse as well, forced there by the stolen Veigar body from Closer, forcing out those summoners, piling in. Critical that they were able to actually get the passive stun from Inspired quickly onto Closer there, finish him off so he couldn't continue taking more souls and really run over that fight.
Yeah, I think if he gets the extra kill he was looking for there, all of a sudden it's reset city, it's
Baron
a wipe,
take.
it's a Baron take.
Probably game.
Yeah, and remember, this is a game where EG had a 3,000 gold lead.
Yeah.
That has entirely disappeared now. It is plus 300 for the side of 100 Thieves. They have taken 2 Drakes, completely stopped the soul stacking. Yes, they still have that wound in their base in mid lane from the tier 3 that was taken, but
cares?
EG hasn't done anything.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter at all unless you can actually threaten taking that inhibitor. And to be able to do that, you need to be able to win fights and actually move down, very aggressively, because there is really powerful engage on the side of 100 Thieves. So it's dangerous to actually move up like that. And you now compare those items. We were talking about 2 items to 2 items. Doublelift finished the LDR, so he's a full item completion now ahead of his opponent, FBI, which is going to make things very difficult. And until FBI has that IE, he's not very threatening right now. We are 25 minutes in. He's sitting on BT Gale Force. It's a really low DPS build. Does give him a lot of safety, but until you got the IE, you don't really have any power behind that. So they're kind of just stuck in this stasis mode where they have to just wait and farm it out and try to defend objectives. That's about it.
It's the long time Caitlyn power trough that's been one of the champion's weak spots for as long as I can remember, right? You feel great in lane, you're a bully. Later on in the game, you're a crit machine, but it can be a little rough. Evil Geniuses scurrying around a little bit. Another beautiful Gragas ulti onto Jojo, and Doublelift rips them apart again and again and again. It is the Evil Geniuses mid laner being caught out 3 times in a row.
Yeah, Jojo punished again there. Nice sidestep from him on the charm from Bjergsen, but he's just a little bit too far forward. He's trying to fish with these cages, and it feels a little bit like he's just not fully comfortable on this champion. You're not necessarily understanding exactly how far he can be forward, how far back he has to be. Inspired, it's going to be up to him to try to look for some sort of a steal. That is going down very quick, though. His Q's on cooldown. He has no flash. I don't think he can even get in.
The Baron is melted. It is claimed by 100 Thieves. The 3,000 gold lead has now manifested itself on the other side of the rift. And Evil Geniuses are falling apart off of Jojo's mispositionings. 100 Thieves, Tenacity, again with a beautiful cast to start it out. I gotta praise the engages.
Yeah, the engages have been very, very good. As I said, the footwork from Jojo was solid. It was Bjergsen who looked for that initial ult in, goes for the charm, sidestep by Jojo, sidesteps the Q as well. But he's just a little bit too far forward. He's not respecting that potential of the engage, not necessarily knowing his ranges. So that's that sidestep that I'm talking about, which was well done from him. But that ulti just catches him right on the very edge. Once more, same thing as what happened to him at that Baron. He's trying to poke, he's trying to fish with the cage, look for some chunk damage, continue stacking that passive. But you put 1 foot wrong there, and it's just gonna go the other way. And then over by the Baron, Inspired had no flash, and he used his Q to clear that upper brush. I don't think he realized how low it already was. So his Q was actually never off of cooldown to go back into the pit. So he had no way in, no blast cone, no flash, no Q. And they just had to watch that go down. You're praying a support Lux is going to steal it. That's obviously a pretty low percentage play, so Vulcan's going to try, but EG feeling this game falling apart.
Evil Geniuses have to dig in and defend now. They know that things have swung very far against them. The next Drake is about to spawn. They were the ones who controlled the first 2, but it's been nothing but 100 Thieves Dragons ever since. And now they've still got the Baron for another minute and a half as this 5th Drake of the game spawns. I don't think EG has any business contest.
I mean, just look at that and tell me how you fight, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's your AD just doesn't do damage compared to the opponent, right? It's just not even close anymore. So it's going to become very, very difficult. And Doublelift is on one of these carries where it's like, if it's a Jinx or something, maybe you're saying, if he goes a little bit too far forward, maybe you can just kind of pile in on him and one-shot him. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to be able to do that to a Xayah with cleanse. Between the Xayah ultimate, the Xayah cleanse, him having flash, him having Gale Force, Doublelift has so many ways to keep himself safe.
Yeah.
Plus it is his team that is almost always starting out these last couple of fights, which gives you so much space as an AD. He's not having to kite back. He's not having to worry about that positioning because his team is piling forward and really creating a lot of space for him to work with. So that's just kind of the ideal spot to be in as an AD. And that is Doublelift's bread and butter. That is how he won so many championships in this league, is through team fighting.
Finally, Tenacity evolves into the Seraph's Embrace from the Archangel staff. That late purchase tier, that stupid thing took almost 30 minutes to come online, but it's ready to go now. And so the big man just got even bigger. It is 100 Thieves with control over the enemy red side jungle. They want to make sure they're choking the vision away from evil geniuses. Make them scared, make them cautious every brush you approach. Make them take it slow so you can continue being where you want to be and being there first.
And Bjergsen has continued on this more aggressive build. It's actually Horizon focused second, really amping up that burst. It's not Zhonya's, it's not this more utility-based build. And with another Rod on top, it's probably going to be Death Cap preferred for him. So he is really looking to have that huge backline threat. If he can get into that backline, he will be a serious issue to deal with for FBI, for Jojo, for Vulcan as well. And that is going to be very difficult for them to deal with. Something working for EG, though, is finally they have that IE complete for FBI, so he's on his 3-item spike and is going to become a lot more relevant.
Yeah.
But Doublelift completes the BT at the same time, so maintaining that full item advantage. And when you get in these spots as Veigar, where he's going for generally you want to go for Death Cap, second or third or whatever.
Right.
But because of kind of the difficult spot that he's been in, he keeps dying, he's going back to base without a lot of gold. He's forced to actually not go for the Death Cap because he hasn't actually had gold for a Rod on base on really any of these times. So he's moving towards that Void Staff, which is great, but it doesn't mean your Death Cap maybe isn't even going to be finished this game. And it has so much power on Veigar because it's not just amping the AP that you purchase, it's amping the AP from your passive.
It's a multiplier.
Exactly. So it is just massively better on this champion than on most, and it is already incredibly good on those. So, it's 264 AP that he's gotten from his passive. He's already sitting at 550. If he can finish that Death Cap, he's going to be up nearing that kind of like huge numbers, up near that 1K.
So where do you want to see evil geniuses draw their line?
It's got to be Dragon. I think you just lose if you give up Soul. I don't think that they have enough damage to really punch through an Ocean Soul, especially it's already 3 Ocean Dragons, so it's going to be 4 Ocean Dragons given over, plus the Soul. It's just so much regen that they have to deal with that I think takes away a lot of the value from the Caitlyn and the Lux, and it's going to make any chip damage they do just completely useless.
Zhonya is also purchased for Tenacity here on the Gragas. A little bit more playmaking. Aggro drop ability going to help him engage and just go in whenever he sees a chance to hit one of these barrels. Jojo's been the target for him so far. He's been finding those successfully. If he can do it 1 or 2 more times, I think that's enough for 100 Thieves to take the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's going to take too much more, and this would be another huge win for 100 Thieves. If they can start off Super Week 2-0, they have a chance to then tie EG tomorrow as far as their record to get to that 10 wins if EG loses again.
Right.
Which would be such a big comeback for 100 Thieves, who went on a stretch where I believe they lost 7 of 8 at one point.
Yeah, it was really rough.
They had some dark times. They started out 4-1, were looking really good, but things really started to fall apart for them. Did make a coaching change last week, went 2-0 last week, and very nearly about to start out Super Week 2-0 as well. So things looking on the up and up for the 100 Thieves squad.
Well, let's see if they can close this one out. It was yesterday that they were initially behind versus TSM. They came back, they won that one. Today, they were initially behind against EG. They're currently in the middle of the comeback. Ssumday separated from the rest of the EG squad, but it's Inspired who just gets shredded by Doublelift's damage. He does have the Warmogs to heal that back up like you were talking about earlier. He has to face check. He knows he's going to get chunked. Hey, no sweat.
Exactly. That's the exact situation we were discussing. But it is 100 Thieves on the Baron, and EG are going to have to find a way to force their way in here. They're checking with that Lux ulti, but Busio in a great spot to flag.
Busio's ready to go. They throw that Sejuani ult over the wall, but they don't hit anybody with it. Tenacity, however, does lose a big chunk of HP. Busio's still off to the side. There, now he's going to find Inspired. He's into the back. He's found the carry. Jojo's destroyed, and Busio just hit money. Tenacity picks up the second, and 100 Thieves ain't done. He'll continue chasing Inspired. FBI and Ssumday back away as Bjergsen dashes over the wall for a charm. Now Ssumday's stuck on the front, and he has to retreat. He's not tanky enough. Yeah, they're too low for Baron, but they're plenty of HP to take that soul.
Yeah, it's going to be the Ocean Soul here, and EG going to be kicking themselves for not checking that brush. Inspired was going up there to try to find an angle for the ulti over onto Bjergsen. But unbeknownst to him, they had actually had vision on that, so Bjergsen's able to react to it. It barely misses out on him, and then they didn't check the brush, so he finds this perfect angle. EG, though, trying to actually go for a Baron steal here. 100 Thieves base, so there is a potential this could work out. FBI sees the TP coming in. He's going to lay the trap.
Well, you've got Tenacity, Doublelift, and Closer all here.
Time to run.
It's the enemy jungler, it's the enemy tank, and the enemy carry. That's enough to make you retreat from the Baron in these situations. but they might not have the chance. Jojo's
back.
coming in here from the flank. This could be a big catch if he gets it. Closer's stuck inside the event horizon, but Jojo can't stay close enough to get any damage off of that. Tenacity's on the flank, still looking for any sort of a chance to poke at these guys.
I just think Tenacity deserves so much credit, but Inspired now in trouble again here. Gonna have to cut it back. We'll have the Warmocks to heal it up, but Tenacity on this angle, threatening an engage, has really had great ults throughout this entire game. And
yeah,
he has been the catalyst for a lot of these one-team fights because he is the one who's always holding that ultimate and finding it onto Jojo. And Jojo has been really unable to actually position aggressively whatsoever to really get much damage out, because every time he steps forward for damage, he's moving himself into range of the Gragas, who can just pretty much execute him one good ult, and you're going to be dead with the follow-up.
And I like this from Tenacity because he has been the subject of a lot of community criticism for 100 Thieves in their performances because he's not on the same page with the rest of the team. He goes in either delayed or too early. Maybe he's in a side lane when he should be grouped. But this game, he's where he needs to be. He's placing his ults down correctly. He's succeeding in the way that I think a lot of 100 Thieves fans wanted to see this guy succeed when they brought him in and got rid of Ssumday as the long-standing top laner.
Absolutely. You know, that is really what you're looking for. You know, people knew that this guy had mechanics, but they want to see that next piece of the puzzle, which is the team coordination, which is really being able to make it work as that 5-man squad. He chunks off the crown there from Vulcan, so now Vulcan is going to have to be a lot more worried until that pops back up. But you can see some big item completions. Death Cap done for Bjergsen, GA done as well here for Closer. Both of them ahead of their counterparts, and they are onto the Baron here. It's up to Inspired to see. Doesn't even have any vision though, he's just on sweeper. Now they can see it.
Inspired's thinking about it, even flashes over the wall, but now he's just free food. Closer takes the Sejuani body, but he might die after. He will resurrect. Guardian Angel's gonna bring him back. They still want to snipe him down, but they can't quite do it. Ssumday's gonna get chopped up by these feathers. He tries to go back in on Tenacity as Jojo dies again. That's what they're gonna name this VOD, because evil geniuses have fallen apart.
Yeah, EG not able to make it happen. Jojo trying to find an angle to participate in that fight, gets charmed up there, was warded out, and 100 Thieves, this is their game now, up 8,000 gold on the push here. Gonna be marching in, taking at least one inhibitor, you have to think, with 30 seconds there still remaining on Jojo. There's just not enough wave there for EG to do anything, and FBI,
oh, that was close. FBI still staying out of danger, but it's that bottom lane inhibitor turret that's already gone. Inhibitor destroyed now too. 15 seconds before Jojo's back alive. 100 Thieves still looking to keep going forward. Busio wants to keep reinforcing his front line, but we do not have any more minion waves aside from what's here in bottom lane. 100 Thieves are going to fall back, knowing that Jojo's about to respawn. They don't want to overstay and throw this, so they're going to regroup. Tenacity shoves up the wave mid. Everybody else heads back.
Yeah, and they want to spend all their gold. There's almost 3K on Bjergsen, 2K on Tenacity, 1,500 you know, on Doublelift as well, so there's just so much gold to actually spend up here between their teams. So 6 items now completed for Doublelift. The team looking really good. We can see this replay one more time. Didn't have vision, so he actually throws the ult in to try to get himself vision here, and they're trying to combo Jojopyun's W with the engage there for the smite. You can see the Gragas ultimate was thrown out there to delay him, and he flashes in. Split second too late, went from about 12:26. It was the smite plus the auto, so perfectly timed there, coming through, able to actually finish that off. No chance of a steal from Inspired, and now EG, you're really hoping for mistakes from that 100 Thieves side. You know, maybe if they can delay it out a lot from here, they can kind of close the gap as far as itemization is concerned, but you're never going to be able to remove that Ocean Soul, and that is just going to be so problematic for them.
Elder Drake in under 2 minutes as well.
Yeah.
So 100 Thieves are going to be able to command control over the Rift for the next 45 seconds guaranteed with the Baron. They can change that command over into total priority over the bottom side river if they choose, or maybe they're saying we don't need it. We're 10,000 gold up, we've got the soul, just hard force it down top.
Hey, if you find a good angle, they can definitely dive. They are far enough ahead to look for those sort of plays. It's full build already on Doublelift. Bjergsen, very, very strong as well. Tenacity almost has his death cap, which is not something you see a lot of the time from the top lane Gragas. You don't usually have the income to be able to make it happen. So they are in a position to make it work for sure. But diving and over diving especially is one of the only ways they can actually grow this game, because if you die here and give up for Elder, all of a sudden your gold lead is kind of erased, because Elder really is that ultimate equalizer. So I think the 100 Thieves are just going to maintain the push, try to keep vision control, try to shut out their opponents from this entire section of the map. You can see there's really no vision in this whole area, just one ward keeping something for them in this spot, but that is about it. So it's so difficult for them to actually clear out this jungle and get out there to even try to challenge at the Elder. So it's just much smarter for 100 Thieves to play it out this way, focus on getting the Elder, and then with that, you can for sure look to dive and just close the game.
Double TP used from 100 Thieves to guarantee that everybody's in position ahead of time, as this Drake only has 20 seconds left until it spawns. They want to shove up both mid and bottom, have as much control as possible, and remember that Elder Drake, for all the power that his buff gives you, is not a strong creature himself. 100 Thieves will be able to burn this very quickly if that's what they choose to do. Inspired loses half HP immediately there. Warmogs is going to heal him back up, but he's not going to be in immediate shape to continue face checking just yet. Bjergsen looking for another charm, but just barely missing. Nice sidestep there. Evil Genius is staying out of the max range. And look, Closer and Doublelift are already melting this thing. Inspired can't even get close enough in time. It looks like he's going to try. Tenacity's ulti doesn't find the mark that time. Flashed into the event horizon, but now they've got the Elder, and now they're going to take the fight. Jojo wants to get away from Tenacity, but Doublelift is done with this game. Evil Geniuses lose 4. Doublelift gets a triple kill, and it's 100 Thieves on the victory march.
10-1 and 5 for Doublelift, coming up huge for 100 Thieves here in Super Week when they need them most. Was massive yesterday on the Jinx. Again, having a huge game on the Xayah. It's the victory march for 100 Thieves. They're going to move to 2-0 and 4 straight wins.
Huge for 100 Thieves, taking down EG. That is back-to-back comeback victories here in Super Week for this squad. Because of the 2-0, they have now guaranteed themselves, at minimum, a tiebreaker for the playoffs. 100 Thieves come to life right when they need to do it, and they take down Evil Genius.
It's a massive game for 100 Thieves, and I gotta say, really impressed by Tenacity as well. One of the real standouts for the team. Felt like his ultimates caught Jojo out so many times there in the mid game. Those 3 consecutive deaths for Jojo were really the turning point in this game, because prior to that, it was the first 2 dragons both going EG's way. It was EG in a spot where they were up a couple thousand gold. The fist bumps to the air always get me. And they were up a couple thousand gold. And then, Jojo gets caught out inside lane, dies. They have to give up 3rd dragon. Then, over by mid lane, he actually gets caught out again, gets caught out again by the Baron as well. So it was those 3 straight back-to-back-to-back deaths. 2 of them at least off the back of ult from Tenacity. Really secured a massive advantage for 100 Thieves and started to swing the game heavily into their favor.
And I know it sounded like I was harping on Jojo a lot this game, but I just feel like he was the catalyst for the way that things changed. And obviously the whole team's going to look back at the VOD and see things they could have done differently. But those moments, those picks you're talking about, stand out in bright red as this was a problem. If Evil Geniuses want to stabilize themselves, if Evil Geniuses don't want to risk falling down into that lower bracket, they're going to have to fix some of this. Get Jojo playing a little safer. Have everybody on the same page, because they showed they could get a lead. It's not just, oh, Evil Geniuses weren't a good team. They had a very convincing lead. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, and they have Liquid tomorrow, so not an easy game, right? Liquid has actually been surging as well as one of those teams that is trying to push for a playoff spot themselves. Right. So it's very possible that they lose. 100 Thieves have Immortals, which was supposed to be their kind of the one game that people were like, yeah, well, they'll probably get that one. But the other ones, who knows? Right? The other ones are going to be hard. So, if his results go to expectation, 100 Thieves wins tomorrow. That moves them to 10 wins against Immortals. And then if EG lose to Liquid, and they are looking completely out of sorts this weekend, so they very well could, they would all of a sudden actually be tied with 100 Thieves that they started so far ahead of at the beginning of this week. Golden Guardians could pass them. That could be enough teams that actually push them completely out of that upper bracket, which would just be a complete collapse for EG, who's now 2-3 in their last 5.
Yeah, 2-3 in last 5, not feeling so hot. 100 Thieves, however, 4-1 out of those last 5 games. You mentioned how they went on that real bad slide in the middle of the split. That's when I think 100 Thieves fans are like, I don't know about that one. Nate Shot's probably watching that one behind the scenes a little bit nervous, like, what are these guys doing?
Sweating,
but they bounced back. They've been doing real good here recently, and they're in a great spot moving forward. Now, with that game all wrapped up, Viva la LCS! LCS in Espanol is the official Spanish language stream of the LCS. This new viewing experience will be available live on LLA's Twitch and YouTube channels starting next week for the kickoff of playoffs. Scan the QR code or go to lolesports.com to learn more. But now, we are going to join Raz, Doublelift, and Busio on stage for the Verizon postgame interview.
Hey! right, welcome back, everybody, to this interview with the victorious bot lane. Congratulations, guys, for this win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say, I mean, they've already said that, casters, you guys are on a 4-game win streak. Your lowest point being 5-8 in week 6 to now 9-8. You guys are on fire. First of all, what do you guys feel like is the biggest contributing factor to you guys' wins? Like, I think both of you guys should answer, but I'll go for you, Busio, first.
Well, definitely the champs we're playing.
Yeah.
We're very comfortable on. We like our team fighting, so it's very easy to team fight as long as we survive early game. It's pretty good, and we just got momentum, so it's easy to keep rolling.
Doublelift?
I think that when we started losing, we realized we weren't very good at really anything. Like, it's that pasta on Reddit where it's like, they just need to work on early game laning, vision, communication, team fighting, everything. But a lot of the things that we were actually improving at, it didn't really show on stage until everything clicked into place. So it just feels like, oh, we're like so much better all of a sudden. But we were making like marginal progress on so many things. And then the last couple weeks, I guess, the pressure was on, so we knew we had to like make it work, and we're actually playing on the same page finally after, you know, struggling to have some. We're basically struggling to make the same play together for like 3 months, and then finally, I think our team figured it out, and I'm really happy with the results.
Yeah, I remember earlier on in the split, you guys were winning a lot, but you guys were still critical of yourselves, talking about fundamentals, trying to drill that in. Has that just been a constant fight?
Well, yeah, I mean, the truth is that if you get the fundamentals down in League, like, you don't make any fancy plays, you don't do anything super insane, you'll probably be the best team in LCS. Like, that's just the truth. So we definitely drill that a lot, and I think our coaches are very, very harsh on us when we fail the fundamentals, which is a great thing. I think our coaching staff is smurfing it really hard.
Well, you guys are soaring. You guys are now guaranteed a tiebreaker. But obviously, you guys wouldn't be happy for that. But just talk about like your feelings about the fact that you guys are moving in this direction, guaranteed a tiebreaker. Like, was there any doubt throughout that time? Because I felt like obviously when you guys were at your lowest, you guys are not going to say much to the public. But talk to me about that feeling then and now.
Well, it would definitely be very sad and scary if we were to miss playoffs. But now that we got these 2 wins, are we locked or just locked for a tiebreaker?
For tiebreakers, but you guys are facing IMT tomorrow, so
okay.
Just to be able to get in.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying IMT is what guarantees you for playoffs. I ain't saying anything. You're putting that in my mouth.
Oh, my bad.
Well, it's definitely good because we're a scaling team, so being able to lock playoffs gives us way more practice, way more time to scale. So yeah, happy.
And getting a chance to have you guys on stage, I want to talk about your personal growth. Like, from the beginning of the split, you can talk about growth being a duo, or your growth just coming into the split, of course, for you, Busio. What is something you found is your greatest growth, or even just something you've recognized from the beginning of the split until now?
Well, definitely at the start, it was like only range support spot and like range champs, just 4 range champs every single game. So then when I first swapped to some melee supports, I'm like not very aggressive, I'm not engaging, I don't have good comms, but as the meta's changed and I'm playing way more Rakan and other melee supports, my entire just mental is more aggressive and looking for plays and kills, so I definitely feel more aware in the game and like I have more of an effect.
There it is. And Doublelift, how about you? Coming back into competitive play, a lot of rust to dust off, I'm assuming.
I feel very lucky to be able to play with Busio because he's a bit of a golden child. Like, when people ask me like, oh, are there any like negatives or red flags? He actually has like no negatives. This guy, like, he tries really hard. He's very good. He's very receptive to feedback. So I'm super lucky to play with Alan, so I think we've grown a lot since the very beginning. And from where we started, where we were getting completely pissed on by every Korean bot lane in our boot camp, and then now, like, we are very, very different. Like, we're a lot better, we're a lot more calculated, and we're a lot more aggressive. So, yeah, I mean, that's our growth as a duo, and as a team, obviously, the results speak for themselves.
There it is. That's the results, everybody. Give 100 Thieves a round of applause for this performance. They're going to be facing off IMT tomorrow at a chance for playoffs. But after this break, it's going to be TSM versus Dig, so don't go anywhere. Thank you, guys.
Can I have another water bottle, guys?
No way, you need 3 water bottles.
I do.
You're serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
My water bottle seems to have disappeared.
You actually drink 48 ounces of water during a game?
How is it possible?
How many Gathering Storm stacks are you expecting?
Yesterday, I drank 2.
Ssumday right back in with the rest of his squad, chasing after Busio, and he finds the first kill. Bjergsen stuck in a stasis, and now he's picked up next. 100 Thieves.
Oh,
Doublelift! But Doublelift wants to turn it around. Doublelift gets Vulcan, but what next? Tenacity picks up one as well. Busio still off to the side. There, now he's gonna find Inspire. He's into the back. He's found the carries. Jojo's destroyed, and Busio just hit money.
Red Bull gives you wings. Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hmm?